Welcome back to the channel Coins Dealer everyone, and thank you for joining today's video where we dive into one of the most fascinating and mysterious stories in the world of rare coins, the incredible tale of the 1977 Lincoln cent penny that has been reported to have a value reaching as high as $98 million, a staggering figure compared to its humble 1 cent face value. And what makes this coin so intriguing is not only its rarity but also the peculiar circumstances of minting errors, mistakes, and mint mark anomalies that transform an everyday pocket change item into a collector's dream worth an unimaginable fortune. And when we talk about coin collecting and numismatics, the key element that always comes into play is rarity and uniqueness. Because while billions of coins are struck each year, only a select few manage to slip through the strict quality control processes of the United States Mint with mistakes significant enough to capture the attention of serious collectors. And in the case of the 1977 penny, the story goes far beyond ordinary, because we are not simply looking at a misprint or a minor double die, but rather a combination of circumstances that align to create something extraordinary. And when collectors hear about mint errors, they immediately think of off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, die caps, or even wrong planchette strikes, each of which can make a coin instantly more valuable than its face value. But in the case of this 1977 coin, enthusiasts believe there are layers of errors, possibly including misstruck lettering, misplaced mint marks, or a transitional planchette issue that should not have occurred in that particular year. And it is this layering of mistakes that creates the aura of immense value around it, because while a single small mint error might raise a coin's value to a few hundred or even a few $1,000s, it is when several unusual features combine in a single specimen that the coin reaches legendary status. And if you consider the normal history of the Lincoln cent, you will recall that the Denver Mint struck millions of coins in 1977, all perfectly ordinary pennies made of copper with the familiar Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet among those millions there are always possibilities for mistakes, such as a mint mark that is slightly misaligned, or a strike that overlaps improperly. And even the smallest details like doubling in the lettering of "Lin God We Trust" or "Liberty" can increase demand. But when a coin is rumored to carry multiple anomalies at once, the buzz in the collecting community intensifies dramatically, and the value begins to soar beyond imagination. And what adds fuel to the fascination is that stories of this coin's worth, said to be around $98 million, capture people's curiosity, because the sheer gap between a penny's intended 1 cent value and a valuation in the millions almost sounds mythical. Yet history has shown us repeatedly that certain coins with dramatic mistakes have sold for staggering prices at auction, sometimes exceeding expectations by huge margins. And so the legend of the 1977 penny is not entirely implausible, because collectors who chase unique items are willing to pay astronomical sums for a chance to own a piece that no one else on earth has. And when you imagine a coin so rare that only one or two might exist with those peculiar features, suddenly the outrageous value begins to make sense in the context of extreme rarity combined with passionate demand. And another angle worth exploring is how mint mark errors play a crucial role in the valuation of rare cents, because the placement of the mint mark denoting Denver is supposed to be uniform and precise, but there have been instances throughout history where the mint mark is repunched, misplaced, or even missing entirely. And when such anomalies are found on a coin from a common year, it turns that piece into something extraordinary. And if the 1977 penny in question features such a mint mark anomaly, particularly in combination with another striking error, then it suddenly carries a profile of rarity that transcends the usual collecting standards. And collectors are always eager to speculate on whether these coins might be transitional strikes, perhaps made with leftover planchets from another year, or whether the die used was somehow altered in a way that was caught too late by quality control. And all of these possibilities feed into the mystique of the coin's potential 9-figure valuation. And while some may argue that the $98 million figure is exaggerated or purely speculative, it reflects the way collectors assign value not only based on intrinsic worth of the metal or the face value, but on rarity, uniqueness, historical curiosity, and above all, the desire to own something no one else can claim. And in that sense, the 1977 penny becomes not just a small copper coin but a treasure, a tangible piece of mystery that elevates itself above the ordinary world of circulation money into the extraordinary world of legendary artifacts. And when we step back and think about it, the coin story is a reminder that hidden in everyday change we might unknowingly hold something extraordinary, because thousands of people carry pennies in their pockets without ever realizing that a tiny variation, an overlooked misprint, or a subtle mint mark error could potentially change their financial future. And this is why collectors remain so vigilant, examining each detail under magnification, looking for the elusive die errors or anomalies that could signify a coin of great value. And so the legend of the 1977 D penny worth $98 million continues to fascinate, inspire, and drive curiosity in the numismatic world, reminding us all that sometimes even the smallest things, like a simple penny, can carry unimaginable worth when rarity, error, and history collide in just the right way. We dive into a fascinating story that blends history, rarity, numismatics, and a bit of mystery surrounding a coin most of us take for granted, the humble 1-cent penny. But in this case we are talking about the extraordinary 2001 D penny that has been speculated, rumored, and discussed in collectors' circles for reaching a staggering worth of around $76 million. An unbelievable jump from its ordinary 1-cent face value, and while many might dismiss this as an exaggeration or myth, the truth lies in the unique combination of factors such as minting errors, striking mistakes, mint mark anomalies, rarity of certain variations, and the sheer frenzy created when collectors discover something unexpected hiding in plain sight. So let's get into why this tiny copper-coated zinc piece has captured so much attention and what makes it stand out from billions of others. The first thing to understand is that the 2001 D penny was minted in Denver, identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse side under Abraham Lincoln's profile. And while most 2001 D pennies are utterly ordinary, produced in massive quantities running into the billions, a very tiny fraction is believed to have left the mint with unusual characteristics. These include double die errors where parts of the coin's design appear duplicated because of a misalignment during the hubbing process, off-center strikes where the coin blank was not perfectly centered under the dies, planchette errors where the metal disc used for striking the coin was defective or of the wrong composition, and mint mark irregularities where the D itself may appear repunched, misplaced, or distorted, all of which drive collectors into a frenzy because such anomalies transform something common into something scarce. And scarcity in the numismatic world almost always translates to high value. Now, what separates the rumors of $76 million from the more realistic auction prices seen for rare pennies is the degree of rarity and hype surrounding a particular coin, because when a coin gets legendary status, even if it is based on a small handful of existing examples, speculation can push perceived value into astronomical figures, and the 2001 D penny has become one such legend, whispered about in forums, highlighted in news snippets, and sometimes even claimed to have been sold privately for jaw-dropping sums, with the mint error being at the core of its intrigue, since a simple strike-through error where a foreign object like grease, cloth, or a fragment of another coin obstructed the die during the strike can make the design appear ghostly or incomplete, and such imperfections give a one-off uniqueness that cannot be replicated. Furthermore, numismatic historians and specialists remind us that collectors are not just buying a coin's metal value but also its story, its quirk, and its place in the larger history of US coinage, and a 2001 D penny with a visible double die error, for example, might show Lincoln's eye, nose, or inscriptions like "In God We Trust" appearing shadowed or duplicated, which makes it both visually striking and educational for those who study the minting process, while a misaligned D mint mark suggests something even rarer since mint marks after the 1980s were applied directly to the master die, meaning that any repunched or double D is extremely uncommon, sparking debates about whether it was a transitional mishap or an overlooked variety. The other aspect is the psychological impact of knowing such coins exist in circulation or hidden away in jars, drawers, or old collections, making everyday people wonder whether they might be sitting on a fortune without realizing it, and this mass curiosity drives more demand, which in turn inflates the coin's mythical valuation, because if even one verified sale or auction listing hints at multi-million-dollar figures, the legend grows stronger, pushing collectors to assign extraordinary speculative worth, especially when the exact number of surviving error coins remains unknown. Imagine for a moment the irony of a coin worth $76 million still technically being legal tender for a single cent, highlighting the gap between face value and collector value, a gap that fascinates both experts and casual observers alike, and fuels television features, magazine articles, and viral videos. Because the idea that a penny in your pocket might be a life-changing discovery resonates with our sense of luck and hidden treasure, not unlike finding a rare gemstone or a forgotten painting in an attic. And while skeptics argue that real-world sales of such pennies rarely reach anywhere near those legendary amounts, the combination of possibility, documented mint errors, unique features, and the buzz around the 2001 penny ensures that it remains a sought-after curiosity in the numismatic world, so much so that collectors continue scouring coin rolls from banks, pocket change, and inherited collections in hopes of spotting that elusive error penny with the telltale signs, whether it is the doubling of inscriptions, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or an oddly shaped or misplaced mint mark. What really makes the story engaging is that coins like this embody the unpredictability of minting at scale, because even with precision machinery and strict quality control, mistakes slip through, and those mistakes become history's treasures, amplifying the idea that perfection is not always what creates value, but rather imperfection in the right place at the right time. And when we apply this to the 2001 penny, we see why it has captured imaginations worldwide, a coin so ordinary yet so extraordinary in its rare flawed forms that it blurs the line between myth and reality, worth 1 cent on paper but potentially 76 million in the hands of the right collector, making it not just a piece of currency but a story, a legend, and a symbol of hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. One of the most fascinating mysteries in the world of numismatics, a story that has captured the attention of collectors and enthusiasts alike, the unbelievable case of a 1981 cent penny that is said to have a value soaring as high as $65 million, a staggering figure when compared to its ordinary face value of just 1 cent. And the reason behind this extraordinary leap lies not in the metal itself but in the rarity, errors, mint mistakes, and historical oddities that surround this particular coin, making it one of the most talked about pieces in modern coin collecting circles. So let's break down what makes a coin that most of us overlook or throw into change jars suddenly become the subject of awe and treasure hunting dreams, starting with the fact that the year 1980 was a transitional time in minting technology, where coins were struck in extremely large numbers, billions of them. And while most of those pennies ended up circulating normally without notice, a small handful escaped the presses with characteristics that made them different, and in the world of collectors those differences can be worth more than gold, in fact worth millions, because the hobby of coin collecting places the highest value not on age alone but on uniqueness and rarity, and that's where mint errors come into play, since errors can range from double strikes, off-center images, die cracks, wrong planchets, misplaced mint marks, and anomalies in the metal composition, all of which drastically alter the rarity of a coin, and in the case of the legendary 1980 penny valued at 65 million, it is said to possess a combination of multiple errors that make it stand out like no other, with reports suggesting that the coin may have been struck on the wrong metal planchet, perhaps copper-based when it should have been zinc or vice versa, or possibly even using a transitional blend, which already makes it scarce, but the additional detail that fascinates collectors is the possibility of a mint mark error, where the small letter indicating the mint of origin, such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco, may have been misplaced, doubled, or accidentally omitted, making the coin a freak accident of history, and when such features are authenticated, they elevate the coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Now many viewers might wonder how such a massive valuation could be attached to a small penny when there are plenty of error coins circulating that don't fetch anywhere near that number, and the answer lies in supply and demand combined with the cultural story attached to the coin, because collectors and investors are willing to pay astronomical sums for the one coin that can be verified as absolutely unique, essentially the holy grail of error pennies, and in auctions rarity commands a premium that goes far beyond precious metal content. And if this penny exists with its extraordinary error set confirmed, it would be the only one of its kind, making it priceless to the right buyer. So while the everyday person may dismiss pennies as worthless pocket change, numismatists know that errors elevate them into treasures, and the 1980 penny in question symbolizes how small details overlooked by the mint can become life-changing discoveries, as history shows that even subtle mistakes like a double die or misaligned strike can already bring in thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. But when a coin contains multiple high-level mistakes rolled into one, it essentially becomes a miracle of numismatic production, further amplified by the story of its survival against the odds, since the majority of error coins are caught by the mint's quality control or destroyed before entering circulation, so the ones that slip through are rare survivors, and if one such survivor has all the attributes collectors dream of, then its valuation skyrockets, with stories circulating about a 1980 penny being sold or valued at 65 million, a figure that may sound unbelievable but reflects the principle that uniqueness drives worth, just like art masterpieces or historical artifacts, and beyond the technical details of the error itself, This coin sparks imagination because it represents the possibility that ordinary people holding everyday change might stumble upon something of immense value, fueling treasure hunts across the country where people search their jars, wallets, and coin rolls hoping to spot the telltale signs of an error, whether it be a doubled mint mark, a misprint in the date, an off-center design, or an unusual coloration pointing to a wrong metal composition. And this phenomenon has kept the legend of the 1980 penny alive, inspiring countless searches and conversations online, at coin shows, and in auction houses. So while skeptics may question whether the exact 65 million figure is verified or exaggerated, the undeniable truth is that the 1980 penny with major errors holds the potential to be one of the most valuable modern coins in existence, a symbol of how small mistakes in minting can lead to astronomical gains, and a reminder to us all that sometimes the most ordinary objects we overlook can hide extraordinary secrets. So next time you find a 1980 penny, don't just dismiss it, study the mint mark, examine the details, look for any irregularities. Because history has shown that treasures are often hidden in plain sight, and perhaps one day another such discovery will shock the world again, turning a humble cent into a fortune and keeping the legend of the $65 million penny alive for generations of collectors to come.